Hey everybody, I want to welcome you to the 7 p.m. Eastern Speaker Co-working sponsored by Speaker Hub. This is the daily call that we do 3 times a day, Monday through Friday, that helps speakers from around the world to get booked on more stages, whether they are paid speaking gigs, podcast interviews, or press coverage. That's what we help people to do at Speaker Hub. So I am here alone today because Angela is out to dinner with one of our employees that's visiting Dallas. Um, Angela and Juliana went to lunch today, I think, or dinner. I think it's at 6 o'clock. So I'm here today co-piloting on my own. We got Bart, we got AJ, and then from the Speaker Hub team, we got Gustavo and Maria. Good to see everybody. Any other questions? Also, Charles, if you want to introduce yourself to the rest of the gang, we usually let people their first time introduce themselves and talk about what topic they speak on.
Hi, I'm Charles Monk. I speak to churches primarily about faith-related topics, and I'm looking to expand my reach to businesses. I love speaking. I love being able to communicate with an audience, and I'm looking to grow those opportunities.
That's cool. So any other questions for me or anyone else? I know AJ and Bart, they use our systems. Gustavo and Maria, they're designers and developers on our team. So they usually sit in and listen to ask different questions or whatever, answer questions about upcoming features. So, but if you have any other questions, I will answer them or I'll get into my lesson for the day. This is where I teach people how to get booked. So you want to hang around, you're free to stay. It's open to anybody. So any other questions, Charles, or no?
For podcasts, what would you say? Like, what kind of audience would you start with when you're starting trying to get booked on podcasts?
Yep. At the beginning, I would get on any podcast that would take me. And
Yeah,
the reason being is that I'm not that good yet. Right.
sure.
So at the beginning, the first 5 to 10 podcasts, you're kind of finding your message, how to get in and out of the interview, how to answer questions on the fly. And then you start developing your own frameworks that you can use to teach the concepts that you've been, uh, that you've been teaching. The
Okay.
difference in being on a podcast and like a conference or speaking at a church is that nobody's really challenging your things when you're talking at a church, right? They're
Yeah.
not raising their hand and say, "Man, I don't believe that." But on the podcast, they do it all the time, right?
Yeah.
So you get to fortify what you really believe and explain it from different answers and get unexpected questions. Now, the reason why that's really important to me is because it prepares me for any Q&A session I may have at a live event. Once I've done so many podcasts, you can't catch me off guard with anything because I've heard everything. I've heard every snide remark. I've heard every gotcha question. I've heard everything, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also able to adjust to the audience that's listening, right? So
Okay.
the primary role of being on a podcast is to help the audience be better off than what they were before they listened to the podcast. So you want to have something for them to download and take away, right?
Okay.
Let me give you a great example. Have you ever gone to a website before and never went back to it because you couldn't remember it?
Yeah.
Is that your fault or the web designer's fault?
Probably their fault.
Yeah, they should have found a way to get you to at least fill out a survey, get in a call, offer a free trial. They should have offered you something
Yeah.
so that they can keep in contact with you, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times as speakers, we go on a podcast and we forget that we may have hundreds of people that the host has referred us to by introducing us to his audience. And then we find no way to keep in contact with them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So here's one of the things that we've built that's pretty cool. And it's called Speaker QR. And basically, let's say, for instance, you had a leadership checklist or something, or a Christian leadership checklist. When you go on that podcast, you can give them a link to your code, or if you're speaking live, you can give them a QR code, right? And it allows them to leave a review, but it allows them to download your free tool.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
if you were to shine your phone at this, it would bring up a questionnaire that looks like this,
Yeah.
right? It's going to bring up this questionnaire where they can leave me a review, say, hey, Charles, I think you did a great job with X, Y, and Z. And then on the next page, it lets them download the book that I promised them on the podcast, right?
Okay.
So, people go on podcasts and they'll have a call to action. They'll say, hey, if you go to www.charlesmonk.com/book, I'll give you the first chapter of my new training, right? If you leave me a
Yeah.
review telling me, what you liked about my interview today, I'll leave you a review of my training. That's what
Okay.
we teach. Does that make sense? So we're
Yeah.
going to give you the tips and tricks to make sure that you can get paid, more than what you've been paid in the past.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. So here's the thing. At the beginning, you just want to go on podcasts just to get out there, right?
Yeah.
Because guess what? Google is going to rank you very well because of podcasts.
Okay.
So I love to come over here because if I go to Google and I come in, I type in Bart Womack, right? Right off the bat, boom, we find out, okay, this guy is pretty well known, right?
Yeah.
But also when I click on videos, it's going to show me different talks that he's done, different interviews, things of that sort. So now the person who's booking for the association or the conference, they can try him out to see if they
Yeah.
like the way he presents himself, to see if they like his speaking style, things of that sort. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Now, I'm not as famous as Bart. Bart is really, really, really well recognized. But when I type in my name, it shows my streets. You notice it's going straight to my podcast interviews,
Yeah.
right? So I want the event planner to see me doing what I say I do. I want them to be able to listen to me talk about the topic that I'm coming to talk to them about.
Yeah.
Is that fair? So that's the value
Sure.
of podcasts. You want them showing you in the search results. You don't want them showing your evil twin brother,
Sure.
right? But you also want them to see you doing the thing that you said you were an expert in.
Yeah.
So imagine if I said I was an NBA player. Man, there's nothing with me playing basketball. Right? I don't play basketball at all. But you see how that just kind of, it's like, dude, he didn't play in basketball. There's some other folks. I don't see anything that validates that he's a basketball player.
Okay.
Does that make sense? But if
Yeah.
I say I'm a speaker, there should be some things that validate that I'm a speaker. Like you should see me speaking, like here.
Yeah.
Right? You should see, different people talking about different events or see me doing the things that I talk about doing. Right?
Yeah.
So that's what you want. A lot of times when we Google people, we can't find them. So podcasts help out with that.
Okay. That's
Make
good
sense?
to know.
Any other questions?
Not from me.
Okay, cool. Cool. AJ, Bart, any topics you all want to cover? Gustavo, anything you want to share that you've been working on? Anything new that we can look at?
Well, I am actually working on the main profile page as I was working the last week, but I am actually just figuring out how we wanna sell the books. So we end up helping all the users to have the most intuitive way to sell the books.
Yeah, I think the
But
best way to do it is to do it through the same plugin as the course.
as the course.
Yeah, because it assigns it to the teachers. So Charles, what we're explaining is next month we're launching a new feature where our speakers can sell their courses and books directly on Speaker Hub.
Okay.
Right? So when you sell a book on Amazon, if you sold 1,000 books, Amazon's not going to give you the customers' names and email addresses and things of that sort. Right?
Yeah.
It's just going to say you sold 1,000 books. Here's your part. We keep our part. because those people are Amazon's customers. No different than if you had a product on sale at Walmart. Walmart isn't going to tell you how many people bought your gardening hose.
Yeah.
They're going to tell you, hey, you sold this many, but they're not going to say Gustavo bought one, AJ bought one, Jessica bought one. They're just going to say you sold 100 of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what we're doing different is saying, no, we want you to build a good business. So we'll actually give you the client's name who bought from you.
Yeah. So you
So
can
that
follow
you
up
can-
and stuff.
Yeah, you can follow up and all of that. So that's what makes us a bit different.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Of course.
So yeah, we'll be introducing that next month because there are too many speakers that don't make enough money. They're not getting paid enough, but that doesn't mean that they don't provide value. But the only way to either you can have someone pay you up front or you can provide value and have them buy different things from you, right?
Yeah.
On the backside. So if the event planner doesn't see value in what you're talking about monetarily, that doesn't mean that the people in the audience don't.
Sure.
Got it?
Yeah.
Yep. Any other questions? Again, I'm gonna hop in the topic. If you all don't have any other questions, I got a new topic I want to talk about that I think is super duper cool. Nope. All right. So I'll talk about it. So how many of y'all have experience running Facebook ads? AJ, you ran Facebook ads before? Bart, you run Facebook ads? Anything? Charles, you ever run ads on Facebook? All right. What would you rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 with Facebook ads, AJ?
Probably a -5.
Why a -5?
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's so many different aspects of just like you can get the ads going, but then you have to understand the numbers. You got to understand where they're going. I mean, it's so much. It's not just running ads. It's a lot.
Okay. And where would you rank yourself on the scale of 1 to 10 in your ability to sell if you talk to somebody or sell from the stage or get clients from your presentations?
About a 7.
Okay. Right. So that's a 12 position switch, right? Where with one, you're like, this is very complicated. On the other one, you're like, I could probably get better, but at least I'm not -2 or -15, right?
Yeah.
And what does that do for your confidence?
I'll go speak. I'll go speak anywhere. But to put money behind ads, I don't like. I'm hesitant right now just because it's such a learning curve. But you can ask me to speak tomorrow, and I'll do it.
Yeah. And the other thing is that a lot of times people do it, and the ad platform is one thing, but now I got to make it interesting to where people pay attention, right? Because on Instagram, I'm competing with naked girls, car crashes, sports highlights. I got to be more interesting than that. While they're scrolling through, looking through that stuff, they got to find what I'm talking about interesting. Does that make sense? But if you're on a podcast, they already know. They tuned in for that 30-minute thing. They didn't come on for 15 seconds to be distracted. They actually opened up the app on their phone, clicked, I want to listen to this, right? Or they went to YouTube and they clicked, I want to watch this. If they hear you at a live event, you're not, unless you're at a swimming pool, you're not competing with half-naked women. You're just competing. The person got in their car and went to that meeting with the understanding that they're going to learn something related to whatever that organization is hosting, right? So the ability to use your most valuable marketing tool, which is your voice, is way underestimated, right? It's the one thing that AI can't replace. Charles, you got kids, right? You any brothers and sisters? Okay. Go ahead and unmute. I can't hear you when you're talking. It's muted.
No kids, one sister.
Okay. Right. Do you have memories of doing something fun with your sister?
Of course.
Right. Do you have lessons that you learned from your sister?
Yeah.
Yeah. AI doesn't.
Yeah.
If AI said, I was talking to my sister the other day, everybody's leaving the room. Wait, you got a sister? Really? Right? Because you know he's lying, right? But there's something relevant from a person who has a sibling when another person tells a similar story that they may have experienced and they didn't take the same lesson from it, but they learned from you because they had a similar experience.
Yeah.
You know, the other day my daughter was in here and I was just tapping on the desk, you know, just kind of being annoying. And she says, "Hey, stop. I got a headache." Wait a minute. She's 3. I'm like, who'd you hear say this? Me, my mom says that to me all the time. Okay. So she's mimicking what she heard her mom say, right? She's like, my mom tells me this all the time whenever I'm making noise. So, you know, I have a headache. So please, let's not make the noise. Now, AI can't tell that story, right? But I can take the lesson from it and say, hey, the thing I learned is be careful what you do around your kids because they're imitating you. That I can take that to the stage. AI can't do that. AI can't go on a podcast and tell that story. I don't care how good it gets. It's lying.
Yeah.
Right? So that's our competitive advantage as speakers is that we can tell real life stories that people relate to and make them, they will trust us more with the products and services that we're offering. Why? Because I don't want to take parenting advice from a robot who's never had kids. Because the dynamics and all the emotions of having a kid are, there's so many variances. It's not, it's this way because all of our data says this is the right answer. Nah. There's a lot of things you gotta consider, considering that you gotta consider culture, right? You gotta consider age, you gotta consider race, all of these things. People treat their kids differently depending on what part of the world we're in, what language they speak, what's the cultural norms, all of those things. But that's something that AJ has that's unique to AJ, a perspective. That's something I have that's unique to me as my perspective, right? Something that Charles will have with his sister that's unique to him that will be relevant to somebody in that audience that builds a bond that we'll never have with OpenAI.
Yeah.
Right? So unless you like TikToking and trying to do the latest dance, like it's like, dude, I'm not trying to run ads. I'm just gonna go speak. And I'll build my business that way, making real human connection when everybody else is trying to avoid people. So, Charles, I get asked all the time, why do you meet with folks? Because when you signed up for Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg wouldn't. When you go to every other speaking website, they're not gonna let it, nobody's gonna talk to you. Go to our competitors. They're not gonna give you a calendar and say, come on and talk. They don't even do live calls like this. We do them 3 times a day. This is our smallest one. So you have no interaction. I'm like, no. We're in the speaking business. And I can't speak to nobody. What? Right? So these are the things that we believe make a difference. Why? Because speaking is a lonely business. Right? You build that business by yourself most of the time. So it's good to have other speakers around that are going on podcasts, that are getting booked, that are doing some of the other things that you may be experiencing so that you don't believe that you're doing it wrong. Right? So here's the other thing. We spend so much time on our phone looking at content all day, right? That ads have become less effective. We're swiping past them, swiping through them, putting on ad blockers, right? I got an ad blocker on my phone. I don't see any ads, right? Now, that's part of the technology. But you know what? When someone goes to church, Charles, I'll ask you, because you said you talk with Christians. When someone goes to church, should they be surprised that y'all talking about Jesus?
No.
Right? Right? You ever been to a 30-second church session?
No.
No, exactly. But that's what TikTok and all these other places want us to get our message across in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? So by doing the live gigs, my biggest point is product is way more important than ever before.
Yeah.
Because the shortcut is usually the long way, right? The shortcut is usually the long way. Everybody who's selling shortcuts, it never works. So I'm going to ask you another question, Charles, and I'm not focusing on you, but I know these other guys seem to be busy. So, but we'll just have the conversation. One of the questions you asked, you said, "How do I know this thing works?" People make a bunch of promises and all these things. What did you try and it didn't work? Because I know people. There's a lot of junk out here. What systems have you tried? And you don't have to say the name of the companies. I don't want to poop on them. But what have you tried so far to get more gigs? What processes?
There was this other company that promised a bunch of things. Their website, so they said, you know, fill out this form, we'll set you up with some stuff. The form didn't even work. Spend some time on it. Thankfully, I didn't spend money at that point, but system really didn't work.
What was the promise? Was it to get speaking gigs, or what was it?
Yeah, you're supposed to be able to get your gig within a couple months. Get a couple gigs when you're just starting out. I mean, this is kind of I'm kind of in the initial steps of trying to get into paid speaking stuff, but there's plenty of other services where you sign up for it. They promise the world, and then you don't really get anything.
Did you ever talk to a person?
Generally no.
But you were going to say something else before I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, there's just been some other systems that I've tried out, didn't really work. You don't give me that impression at all. I appreciate the money back guarantee. I'm just asking that.
No. I'm always curious about what other people are doing, right?
Yeah.
So earlier today, we did a thing called 10-star service, where you ask someone what would be 1-star service if they work with you, and then what would be 5-star, right? You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 10, right?
Okay.
And when I look at where our competition is, you have no human interaction with the people there.
Okay.
Right. So if you want to stand out in whatever you're doing, just be available.
Yeah.
Just be available, right? Like, actually let them talk to a person. Let them get on your calendar or somebody's calendar where they can actually talk to a human and be understood.
Yeah.
Because they're paying a decent amount of money. You should get to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And if what they're offering works, I'm proud of it. I want to tell you about it, show you what we're doing. You know, I don't want to hide it. I want you to see it. I want to be able to answer whatever question you have, because our job is to amplify the voices of speakers.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one of the things that you'll find. Anyone who's watching this, if you deal with Speaker Hub, you're going to talk to real people, right? We do a daily call every day. You can come on and ask whatever you want. We got 24-hour support. You can send an email. Somebody's going to reply to you. We got enough team members that will make sure that you get heard. There hasn't been one person who's asked for a refund for any of our services. I just bought the company. I refunded people that had paid, and the money was with the old owner, and I gave them the money back out of my pocket. Do you see what I mean? Like, when I bought the company in June, there were several people asking for refunds from what happened in May, and I paid them back. Why? Because I understood that, hey, that's part of my responsibility. If the shoe was on the other foot, I wouldn't be like, hey, well, what's the name? I got the money. Ain't nothing I can do about it. No, I would be like, dude, I don't care about that. You own the business, fix it. Right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we stand out with is, number one, the human touch. The second thing is help. We're open book. We will show you whatever you need to know in order to get on more stages. We will show you proof of stages that we booked. Right? We will show you pitches and clients that we've worked with. So that's really the big difference, is our ability to actually say, here's the results. Make what you want of it. Decide if you want similar results, right? So Any other questions as we're at 6:30? And then I'm going to go to the next part about consistently getting booked, right? Nope. Cool. So when we think about outreach, right? So imagine if how many different types of pizza are there in the world? You think there's more than one type of pepperoni pizza? When we think about it, right? Watch this. Let me show you. Let's look here. What's the likelihood that all of these taste the same? Very low, right? The likelihood that they taste similar is higher than if they taste the same, but the likelihood that they taste similar is higher. The likelihood that I like one better than the one that Charles may like this one, Gustavo may like this one, AJ may like the square one, Bart may like the one with the cheese in the crust. I eat too much pizza to know that that's the one with the cheese in the crust, right? Right? That's the cheese crust pizza with the thick thing around the side. Everybody will have their own favorite ones, but they're all still called the same thing, which is pepperoni pizza. So if I tried pizza the first time, pepperoni pizza, and I didn't like it, is it probable that maybe I didn't try a good restaurant? Should I just give up on all pizza? Man, I tried pepperoni pizza. I didn't like it. It was too spicy. It was too greasy. There's this one in Detroit. Look at this. They put 2 pounds of pepperoni on it. Let me see. This thing. Look at that. But they got one. I saw it on YouTube. And it's a Detroit style pepperoni pizza where this dude puts like the most freaking pepperoni ever. Let me see if I can find it on YouTube. Hold on. They make this square pizza with all these daggone pepperonis. Like, let's see. Pounds of pepperoni. This thing. Look at this right here.
Boiled and slid into the oven to look like this. It gets topped with their house-made pink vodka sauce, spread all over, and some shredded mozzarella cheese, and slid into the oven once more. They dump a healthy amount of pepperoni into a square pan, even more into another square pan, spread them around evenly, and slide both of these into the oven. That cheesy vodka sauce Sicilian is ready, and so is all of that pepperoni. I could listen to this sound all day long. They transfer the Sicilian into a box. On goes a nice scoop of that pepperoni, another scoop, another
Look at
scoop.
this.
They finish off that first pan, but they're not done yet. They take even more pepperoni from the other pan. Not just one, but
Did you
2
see
fresh
that?
pizza doughs get straight.
And then they take the grease and they put it in ranch dressing and they use it as a pepperoni sauce, right? No. If that's your first encounter with pepperoni, you may be like, man, I want to die if I eat this. This is like a heart attack on the plate, right? So sometimes we're just not trying enough things to find out what we like. It may, oh yeah, I've tried outreach before, but did you do outreach the way that we do it? Do you see what I mean? I've tried booking myself before, sure, but which version of pepperoni did you try? Which version of the outreach did you try? Because the one that you like may be the Chicago deep dish that has the sauce on the top instead of the one that's from Detroit with it's like a doormat with pepperoni on it, right? Like that thing was just full of freaking pepperoni. Good to see you, Bonnie. Good to see you, Chantel, for hopping in, right? So methods that we try, they may not work the first time. But the great thing about it is that in our community, we know that we have people that those methods are working for, so we can have the adjustments, right? I think out of all the people that have come to the calls over the last 4 months, Chantel may be the only one that's been on television. Everybody else has done podcasts, speaking gigs, written articles, things of that sort. So when AJ, if he ever decides that he wants to do TV interviews, who do you think he should probably ask? Chantel. Now, has she been on TV her whole life? No, but she ahead of AJ. Right? So you just need to be a few feet further down the street to tell a person what potholes to watch out for. You don't have to have made it all the way up the mountain, but just at least help me to get to where you are. Right? That's the sense of what we're doing here in the community. Right? And Bonnie will tell you, my job is to lean on you a little bit, pull you this way, pull you back the other way, give you a hug along the way, say, yeah, like just got to get you going, right? Because we know on the other side of it, that's where the results are. So to kind of recap for those who just joined, we talked about why getting on podcast and doing speaking is better than running Facebook ads. Here's the reason why. You know that when you do the speaking gig, the people who are listening to you want or are interested in what you're talking about, even if they don't want to buy it that day. On Facebook, we don't know if that person's interested in our stuff. That algorithm is going to just do whatever they want to do, right? And it may show it to a bunch of people that aren't interested. The other thing is, Bonnie, on the your anxiety Avenger thing, how many clients could you take on tomorrow?
Individual clients,
Mhm.
3.
Okay. And what's capacity?
In what capacity?
And what is your capacity for the maximum amount?
Oh, because of the other things that I do individually, my max would be 12.
Yeah, right?
That's
So you don't
that's
need
a
these
max.
hundreds of people to
No.
buy this thing, do this thing, spending $1,000 a day on Facebook ads for all of that. You just need to go and get 3 people from a gig this month, 3 people from a gig next month, 5 people from a podcast the next month, and it just compounds. But we're usually thinking in thousands instead of in ones or tens. Right? Most business owners have never asked themselves that question. What's my maximum capacity? Because depending on what you're providing, there is a cap on how many people you can actually help. There's no cap on how many people can hear you talk, but there is a cap on how many people you can help. And I can prove it to you. Not everybody wants your help. So that's the main cap. Is you're capped at the number of people who even want to hear from you.
Mhm.
And then it gets the people who can afford to hear from you, the people who've heard of you and want what you're talking about, right? The people that want to do it today.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, and when you say the people who can afford to hear from you, like that work, the one-on-one with me is the highest investment of my time and their money, right? So I'm also, when I'm on those podcasts and such, I'm looking for people who are interested in getting into a lower cost, twice a month community type of thing that I do, where we work on anxiety issues and strategies to let go of stress and that kind of thing as a group. So there's all, like you said before, have different levels, have different products. So I'm really, really listening to that and paying attention to it. Because then Chantel, the amazing example that she is of like lunch and learns with businesses and corporations and such, that's my third pool that I'm looking to play in from my podcasts and associations and such too.
One of the things that one of the examples I like to think about is all of our clients will get to hopefully, if they stick with it, will get to the destination that they're trying to get to. Right? So if I'm saying I'm going to leave Medellin and I'm going to go to St. Louis, right? What's the cheapest route I could take? What's the cheapest route? These right here.
I was gonna say hiking.
I can walk. No, it's going to take me 3 years, but I'll get there. Right? It's the cheapest route. It's no different. People can learn how to get booked for speaking gigs for free by Googling. They're not going to learn as fast as we learn here because they got to go and get all the gigs and do all that stuff. Nobody needs Speaker Hub. They can build their own website. They can go Google email addresses and all of that. But while they doing all that, Chantel done reached out to 400 people. Chantel done been on 20 podcasts. Bart done 7 speaking gigs. That person's still Googling. Do you see what I mean? So the vehicle that we offer to our clients, everybody goes to the same destination, but we're just offering a different vehicle. So the talk is one vehicle. The book is another vehicle. The course is another vehicle. The workshop is another vehicle. Group coaching is another vehicle. Individual coaching is another vehicle. The more the investment, the higher the ROI and the more they crunch time. Does that make sense? It's not by mistake that you guys are always on the leaderboard because you come and you condense time not having to learn stuff. Everybody else, they kind of floundering out there. I don't want to go to that call. I don't want to hear him tell me what I need to be doing. Cool. Stay over there. Just keep paying every month and you'll get there eventually. You can go watch the YouTubes, but it's totally different when you can come on and ask your questions. So I can get there by shoes. I can get there by bicycle. That's going to be faster than me walking. I can get there by car, right? I can get there by boat. The fastest way, though, is by plane. Probably in certain situations, the plane is not only the fastest, but the least expensive of vehicles. I'll tell you why. I got to go buy a bike, and that bike is going to cost more than the plane ticket, right? And then I got to have certain shoes, and I got to get a special seat that can ride 5,400 miles. And then I got to have extra tires. The bike is less efficient and more costly. Do you see what I mean? So when I hear people say, well, I can Google this stuff. I'm just going to hire a virtual assistant. Less efficient and more costly. We already got the data. You can start doing this tomorrow, but you're willing to go slower and pay someone $10 an hour to do the same work we've already done instead of giving us $200. Yeah, okay. Good luck. Does that make sense? Or we can combine the thing. If I have a love for a certain method, I could take a flight to Cartagena and then hop on a cruise from Cartagena to Florida and then fly from Florida to St. Louis. We can combine the methods. So some people will watch our videos. Some people will talk to me for one-on-one coaching, right? Some people will choose to not come every day, which is fine. Do you see what I mean? How you can combine the different methods. That's what you want to develop in your product. Give them, everybody gets to the same destination. The difference is just the vehicle that they're going to use and the cost of that vehicle. Is that fair, Bonnie?
It's totally fair. And that's why one of the reasons I'm looking forward to the course piece that you guys are putting out in April, because yeah, I wrote the book and I took the time and energy to write a really good journal to help people move forward with it if they chose to do that. And then I was like, well, how many ways can I leverage this? Hello, turn the journal, which would only be seen by purchasing the book, into the course, which is separate entity. I've been working on that. I'm nearly finished. I gotta do the videos. But yeah, just starting to think of things differently. And actually I have a question. When folks are pitching, oh, and I'll back you up with, yeah, I could go on Google and look for things. And I've done a lot of podcasts through Facebook that way, not with ads. I'll never do that. But I just popped in associations and equine, which is a big part of my world. It's a horse piece. And lo and behold, the International Equine Assisted Services Group has their big conference coming up this year, and they were thrilled to hear from me. So I wouldn't have found that otherwise. in the time that it would have taken to be able to get under their wire for the abstract deadline date, which I just accomplished. Yay. But a question that I have, thank you. I'm really excited about that. That's a great group. And I used to be a therapeutic writing instructor for them years ago. My question is, when people are pitching podcast, do you guys have data on the percentage of responses, whether yays or nays, the percentage of responses that people get from pitching? Have you guys looked at that data for either
So
podcast?
we have it from our point of view, from the agency side, right? But we don't track it for everyone else because everybody isn't logical. You know how many people
Yeah.
say, man, I'm just going to pitch Joe Rogan and Tony Robbins. I'm like, dude, no, they're not having you on their show. So you end up with this skewed data of a person who doesn't know, right, what they're doing. And then
Yeah.
all of us, when we first started, were really bad, right? And then over time, we get better. I'll give you the growth hack. Here it is. Make a list of 10 people, 5 people that you know that are at your level, and 5 people that are ahead of you. Search for those podcasts here in the podcasting thing. Search for their names and go on all of those podcasts. Number one, you know they already have guests, right?
Mhm.
So let's say, for instance, AJ was like, yo, I want to work with speakers. I'm going to go on all the same podcasts Ron has been on. All he has to do is put my name in there and search through episodes. It's going to bring up every podcast I've ever been on.
Oh,
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Another speaker coach that I know is a guy named Odell Bizel. I can go on all of these. I know they talk to my audience. You see what I mean? That just cuts to the chase because they've already blazed the path for me.
ah,
This is
Cool.
cheating. So our success rate in our agency was super duper high because guess what? One of the intake questions is give us 5 of your competitors that are on your level and 5 of your competitors that are a bit ahead of you. And we started there first
okay.
because you know what they're doing? They see their competitor on the podcast and a little bit of envy for St. Patrick's Day, Green, starts growing inside. And they're like, man, how he get on there? I could have been on that one. So we just stoked that fire.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a cheat that I didn't know about. I can already think of some people who I would follow there. That's cool. Thanks.
Yep. Make a list of your 5 competitors that are at your level and then 5 that are ahead of you,
Mhm.
right? So at my level right now, as far as coaching, Odell, Brian, things of that sort. People who are more like speakers, Jeremy Anderson, right? I go in, I type Jeremy Anderson, and I'm going to put speaker behind it because it looks like there's other people, right?
Okay.
And you can get a bit more specific. You see that?
Yes.
Becoming a 6-figure speaker, from police officer to prolific speaker, right? So I can kind of tune it up a little bit. Does that make sense? I can put speak behind it.
Mm.
Right? So it's going to say, okay, there isn't many, but watch this. I can come in and filter. If I can't find what I want, I know he's going to be on business podcast. Look at this.
Wow. Okay.
Makes
Dang, I
sense?
knew.
No.
Learn something new every time.
Yeah, this is what we do. There's so many tips and tricks, but here's how we think about it, Bonnie. I have this whole list of best practices. If we gave them to everybody right off the bat, you know what they would do? They would just learn the best practices. They would never pitch. Right? So we're like, look, just get to pitching. And if you can pitch without knowing anything and get results, wait until we give you this next thing. Right? And then if we give you the next thing, you're like, holy smokes. Right? Here's another thing. I should just reach back out to the podcast I've already been on and go back on those. Do you see
Yeah.
what I mean? Like that's
I do.
I was on the podcast 2 years ago. They definitely could have me back because I've done something else, especially on a business acquisition podcast. Because now, when I was on there the last time, I talked about buying PitchDB. Now I can go and talk about buying Speaker Hub. And how
Yeah,
it took
whole
4
different
years
level.
to negotiate it, right?
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah, no,
thi-
I can see this. And yeah, you couldn't tell everything at once and be totally overwhelmed.
yeah, 100%. The
Follow it
first
all.
thing is we got to get you to pitch. I got to get you on something so
Yep.
that because it does something to you to know that
Oh yeah.
your speaking career is no longer in control of they didn't let me. I didn't get picked.
Mhm.
Oh man, I ain't get a chance. He ain't like me. Man, I got 3.5 million podcasts and 172 million episodes. You think I care when somebody think about me? I'm gonna go on a different one. I don't like the way you talk to people. So what? This one does. Like it's like, yo, so many opportunities.
Yeah.
Right? Does this make sense, Charles?
Yep.
You kind of understanding better what we do?
Yeah, this is helpful. Thank you.
Yep. So, same thing with associations. If I had locked down one NAIFA association, oh, I'm calling all of them.
Mm.
Right? I get the Illinois one. I'm going to Kentucky. Hey, yo, I just spoke at the one in Illinois. Can I come out and talk to you guys? I'm going to be in Kentucky next week. Can I do a webinar? Can I do something? Does this make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me show you how we did this. We killed this. This was, so Charles, to give you a little background, I ran an agency for 6 years, right?
Okay.
So I have all of this data from working with over 1,000 speakers. So I can go back to old campaigns from 6 years ago and show you where we lived this thing, right? So I'm going to pull up
Yeah.
one from Pamela Ellis, right? And we were doing some outreach for her to, let me see if I can open it a different link. This is cool. Really, really, really sweet lady. And we were reaching out trying to get her corporate gigs. So she could go talk to the different employee resource groups about how the employees there, she could help their kids to get scholarships. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
So we reached out to 144. 76 of them opened it up. Only 4 people replied. All 4 of them told her to kick rocks.
Hmm.
Right? I said, Pam, like, is this like the lowest hanging fruit? She was like, no, I already know how to do that. I wanted to give you the hard thing since I was paying you. I figured you should try to solve the hard thing. I said, why would you do that? Do you want to win or are you trying to prove a point? She was like, oh, the people that I win with are like the Girl Scouts, the Boys and Girls Club, things of that sort. I'm like, yeah, tell me that, right? So watch what happens. She's a part of this group called Jack and Jill. And Jack and Jill is like a debutante, suburban Black family type of group. Does that make sense? It's like the middle class, high educated Black family group, right? Look at this. We reached out to 400 of them. How many of them opened up her email? How many of them responded?
Mm.
1 out of 3.
Wow.
I'm like, what are you doing? What are we doing? We just hit up every chapter. That's all we did. Like, we went and got all of these are just different chapters. The one in Chicago, the one in New York. We just said, give me every chapter of Jack and Jill in the world, and we will reach out to all of them. Bonnie, Bart, this is what you get with the 1,000 leads that you get. We will go get the data for you. So if Bonnie says, I need more equine groups, I'll just go pull 1,000 equine leads and give them to you.
Mhm.
Is this making
Yep.
sense? If Bart wants to go talk at more police academies, I'll pull all the police academies and give them to him. But do you see the advantage when we just say, hey, look, what's working? And then just scale it. Just let's try more pizzas. Let's put as many pepperonis on this damn pizza as we can.
Got it.
Right? So guess what happened after we did this with Jack and Jill? We ran out because there's only 400 chapters. So I said, well, who's next? She said, oh, let's do National Charity League. That's like the same thing.
Yep, I'll be all over Humane Society.
Same freaking results. 1 out of 4. 280 open, 80 responses. Right? So this is what we talk about. This is showing your work.
Mhm.
Right? This is the show your work part of what we do, because this is where the confidence is built. And guess what happened after we got done with that? So you can see this was when? October 2021. That didn't work. So in November, we went to this. Once we exhausted that in November and December, in January, we switched to what? We rolled that one for 6 months. In June, what we go to?
Girl Scouts.
We rolled that. And then we went to what? Schools. Is this making sense? So it's like, fine. Here's the thing. Let me tell you something. This is the one thing. When the results are easiest, that's when you need to work the hardest. Have you ever heard that before? Most people never heard that. When the results are the easiest, that's when you work as hard as you can to get it before somebody else finds out about it. Well, we say, oh, that's easy. I got that in the bag. I'm going to go do something else. No. You notice we ran one campaign for her, one type of organization continuously until we exhausted them. We weren't running the Girl Scouts and the National Charity League at the same time. We went, call all the Girl Scouts. Call out the National Charity League. Call out all the what's those things? The whatever the other ones, Jack and Jill's.
Jack and Jill. Mhm.
Call all the school principals, right? We just exhausted all of them until she had enough relationships. And she said, Ron, I need an assistant. Can you hire somebody do you have someone on your team that can book all these things? Because I'm out doing it. I don't have time to respond to 10 people a day. Right? So now you know what she does? She's already built the momentum. She already has those relationships. So she's at capacity. Right? You get 800 responses, 800 new friends, 800 new people, new chapters around the country that you're building relationships with. Cool. Your outreach is done. From that perspective. Does that make sense? So here's the another show your work moment. Let's see, I think I have it in here. See if I can show this.
Yeah, I got to get going, but
Yeah,
thank
man,
you
good
for
to
all
see
your
you, man.
help. I really appreciate it.
I'm glad you came on, man. Come back. Create the profile. But this is what we do every day. We show results. If you know another place that can get better results, use them. Right? If you don't, we'll be here when you're ready.
Okay. Thank you very much. Bye now.
So here's Pam. Check this out.
I have found the email campaign that you have been doing to be the most effective marketing lead generation that I have done in a while, or if ever, because the emails are so effective in terms of getting people to open and also respond. And I don't know what it is about your copy, and I'm just like, I need to emulate that wording, but they work. And that's been probably my biggest issue, is that I now need some additional support in terms of responding, especially when I'm traveling. And so I wanted to talk with you about, I don't know if you even have a service like that, but just kind of what I can do about all of the backlog I have now in terms of emails that I haven't responded to yet.
Right? That's all we're talking about. Now,
Mm.
all I'm doing is trying to take all this knowledge and experience I got and giving it to folks so that they don't quit. Because what happens, you got too much stuff. You like, dude, I'm doing add and subtract, and you're teaching me calculus. So here's another things from crickets to backlog. Exactly. That's ridiculous, right? Right. Now, here's the cool thing. I had written an entire book in 4 different versions called The Speaker Launch Formula. We had the course around it and everything. Even the page that Gustavo's going to show you is called Speaker Launch. We got all the books done, everything. I had to scrap them all because it was calculus. I'm like, oh, no, that ain't what they need. They need this. I can teach that. This will come back down the road under a different name. It'll be Speaker Launch Formula Extreme or something like that. But the first one is going to be about, yo, how do I just get on stage and finally get paid what I'm worth? If I can get on stage, this book I spent all this time writing, I can finally get people to buy it consistently. If I can get them to buy a different manifestation of this course, which is just like the book, and I can get them to buy it consistently, I can stay in this business. Why? Because now my confidence is telling me that people do really value the work that I've done. Does that make sense? But I want to give you all the tips and tricks, but I'm like, no, just send the pictures for now. Because I know even with the basics, the AI works. Now, all the campaigns that we use, we don't use the AI. Why? Because I've sent enough that I want to write my own email, just like Bart does. But at the beginning, when you've never pitched before, use the AI because it's based on the emails that we loaded into it anyway. We trained the AI on the emails I've sent, but they're still not going to be perfect. But once you figure out your message for the Girl Scouts, write the daggone message for the Girl Scouts. Don't let AI change it every time. Find the one that works for the Girl Scouts and lean into it.
Mm. That's one way. Okay. That's one
Right.
way that, yeah, Bart and I have been talking about template writing recently. And so that's one way that I would feel more comfortable with the same email template to a bunch of different podcasts and associations if they are within the same realm. Yeah, instead of all over the place, because each individual one has its own flavor, right? And I don't want to. So I take the time to revise the AI to meet that a little bit, and that's really time consuming. And then thinking about, well, how can I use templates so that I don't have to do that individually every time? Ding, is to aim at one area that's going to speak the same language
Well,
one
let
time.
me give you a great example, right? So when I was running the cold email agency, I had very strict constraints on who I would work with. At the beginning, I would work with anybody that's willing to pay, right? If you had money, I needed it, so I would work with anybody. But what I did, I found out the people by working with anybody, I found out the people that I work with best. And it was coaches and speakers. But it wasn't the coaches, it wasn't any coach and speaker. It was a coach or a speaker that had one employee. If they didn't have at least one employee, I wouldn't work with them because they got commitment issues. And this thing don't work in the first 2 weeks. Nobody hires an employee and fires them next week, right? Nobody with any experience. They got like 3 months to just break stuff, right? Like I don't even talk to my employees for the first 4 weeks on purpose. Gustavo, here's your job, go try it. And he just goes, Maria, here's your job, go try it, right? Because I know they're going to break and discover stuff that I never even knew about. But they know what direction we're going in, but they don't need me to hold their hands. Send me a link with all the tools you need. I'll go buy them. I don't even question it. You need that? Cool. Well, it costs this. Gustavo is notorious for, yeah, you got my number, right? Gustavo's notorious for, man, this costs a lot. Gustavo, I didn't ask you that. Do you need it? Yes? Okay. Send me the link. We'll buy it. Now, why is that important? At the beginning, we don't know who we help the most. It's called consultant assumed. Write that down. That's really important. As consultants, we make a lot of assumptions about our clients that is not client confirmed. Consultant assumed is what we believe. Client confirmed is what they taught us. We make a lot of assumptions and we get mad when the client don't match the assumption. No. Talk to them. Use that survey. Remember that survey we gave? Use that survey and confirm this stuff, and then build that thing they said they were going to pay for. So I figured, if we're going to do cold outreach, number one, they need an employee. Number two, I needed to be an alternative to a second employee. Do you see what I mean? Like, I needed to provide my service so efficiently on my side that it would be cheaper than giving their current employee more hours or more tasks, because they would have to go learn it. Right? And then I had them commit for 6 months, and they pay the first 2 months up front. Why? Because when they pay the first 2 months up front, they ain't canceling in the third. They're like, man, shoot, I done already paid. I got to get my free month back at the end. So they stick with the plan. And then they end up getting the results, and they're happy as can be. You saw Pam just kept renewing. Odell just keeps renewing. Stan just keeps coming back. All of our clients just keep coming back. Steven just keeps coming back. Alex keeps coming back. They've worked with me for years. Is this making sense? Now, here's what I'm trying to say. We have to work with everybody at the beginning until we find the person that we can help the most. And then you know what we do? We go all the way in on that person. I want more people that look like Pam Ellis. What's the criteria? Woman, coach, has an employee, trying to help this group of people, boom. So it's like going after chiropractors. If you know how to generate leads for chiropractors, why are you trying to do the same thing for dentists when you haven't talked to all the chiropractors? Because once you solve it for one chiropractor, it works for all of them. It's the same neck pain that they all solve. They all gonna crack your back the same way. So I'm just gonna get another one because this one is already at capacity with the leads. I gotta go get another one. I can generate leads for him. Does that make sense? So that's what we talk about with niching. But sometimes we niche too soon off of consultant assumptions. Does that make sense? Which is why I say, get on any podcast and find the ones that you get the leads from. And when you start seeing people calling you back from this, I need to do another one of these ones that's about leadership with Black women. I'm gonna go to all of them, right? Leadership with equine, all of them. Bart went down one path and discovered another one, true crime. True crime, Mind Fits. I'm going all in on true crime. Is this making sense? This is the stuff I didn't used to talk about because everybody was so, not this group, but our overall focus was trying to focus on speaking instead of how do we build a business? Because I promise you that if I showed you how to make 6 figures from your products, half of y'all wouldn't even speak no more. You'll just do the coaching. You'll just do the helping. The speaking is just the easiest business to start. If you were making $5 million a year, you wouldn't do any speaking. You'll say, I don't speak no more. Shoot, I'm on the mountain skiing. Chantel moved to Miami. She living, she traveling around the world. She ain't worried about going on TV shows. So if that's the big outcome, which is to build a business that we can be proud of, let's do that, but just use speaking as the marketing. Does that make sense? That's what I've lived. I was a consultant that worked with anybody. I found the speaking and the coaching niche. I went all the way in on solving those problems. It allowed me to live a decent life in different countries where I could do my own thing without having to worry about anybody else. I loved it so much, I eventually went and bought a company around that idea so that I could go even further into the niche that I was in. And if I'm going to teach it, I got to live it. So you know what I did? I went on a bunch of podcasts myself. I learned podcasting myself. How do I generate leads from podcasts? If I'm gonna tell Bonnie, girl, just go on podcast, get your leads from there. Don't be worried about Facebook ads. You know what she's gonna say? Show me. Hold my beer, Bonnie. I got you. I can show you. Is this fair, Chantel? Is this making sense? What do you all think about this direction of like showing you all how to use speaking as a marketing tool, not as your product? Because speaking as your product is commoditized, and the famous people always beat you. It ain't a fair fight trying to speak against people that's famous. But it's a fair fight when it comes to solving people's problems, because most people, after you've motivated them and inspired them, they still didn't change. We carry the change. You see what I mean? We're the change agent that gets them really where they want to go. That hype don't mean nothing. Bart will tell you, you can do all them chants you want before you start that run with that ruck. 3 miles in, that bag heavy, bro. 5 miles in, that bag heavy. You know, that MRE make your stomach turn a little bit. You gotta go to the bathroom. You need somebody that's willing to understand your pain at that moment. Bart know what I'm talking about. Meal ready to eat is the MRE. You know, one of my best friends, he's my brother, Brooke, is in the Army Reserves, and he used to take these things home. I'm like, dude, why you got an MRE at your house? But he was in college, right? So in college, he would go to drill and take one home, you know, if he didn't get to eat while he was there. But this is it, right? What's you all's thoughts about that shift at Speaker Up? Because this is the only way everybody has a fair chance to make money and to actually make what you're worth. Here's one of the cool things we're doing. I put out a challenge to all 22 or 23, can't remember, 24 of our full-time employees that they should make their own courses and sell them on Speaker Up. Gustavo should do one on WordPress. Maria should do one on design, website design. Why? Because I'm gonna tell all of our customers to do it if we ain't living it. You know what to make Gustavo make the course thing work when his don't sell? When he can't sell his course, he gonna figure out how to make sure the uploading is easy. When Maria don't like the way that hers is designed, you know what she gonna do? Fix the design. I don't like this button over here. I think this button should be over there. Yeah, put yours in there so you can see what our customers are going through. Is this fair? I think this is a game changer, right? Any thoughts? We're 11 minutes in overtime. You know, I had to hop off earlier because my stomach was killing me. It still is, but I'm here. You know, I'm here through it all. So, any other questions about the direction we're going? The excitement that I have for Speaker Hub as we go into year 2. We've owned this thing now for 9 months. June the 1st, we will have owned it for 1 year. We're considering moving the Pro Speaker Summit back to June as our 1-year anniversary celebration so that we can do something a bit larger. So we had it currently planned. See you later. Oh yeah, I'll be all right. Yeah. Oh, thank you. I thought she was saying she's about to leave. Yeah. I mean, I've been taking medicine, but you know, this stuff don't go away right away. But yeah, we thought about doing it in April, but we're like, dude, we should do something bigger that would be a bit more exciting. Be able to have 2 months or so with you guys as courses in there, figuring out all the bugs before we invite everybody else in. So Gustavo, if you want to take 5 minutes to kind of show what you've worked on so far, as far as what the new course platform will look like, especially if I know you all had made like 80% progress on the new speaker profile, which is a super duper game changer. This is a project that's designed by Maria, but built by Gustavo. It's unique for Speaker Hub because our other dev team has 5 people that are dedicated over there, and Gustavo has this task by himself to rebuild this side, right? So, you know, it's a big undertaking, but he's the man for the job. So you want to go ahead and show us where we are? Gustavo?
So, I will do like to show them the actual inner course or just the profile page.
Whatever you're proud of. Show the part that you're proud of.
Well, I already showed them the course, but I can show them again. Just give
Yeah,
me
show the profile.
a little.
I don't think they've seen the new profile. Even if you want to bring it up in Figma, that's okay.
Well, the profile is in progress, but I can, yes, I
Well,
can.
well,
I can-
Maria, can you bring up the new profile in Figma?
Oh, yes, I can do that as well. The Figma one. Yes,
Yeah, just do it in Figma.
okay.
We're not giving them access. We just want to show them where we're going.
So, well, basically this is Maria's works, Maria's vision, and well, all in the speaker hole.
Can you make the left side a little smaller? Yep, so that we can see a bit more of the screen and where you're going. So this is the new speaker profile, guys. You
This
see
is
it's
the
video
vision.
at the top. So you have your speaker reel right at the top.
Nice.
Now on the current profile, the video is all the way at the bottom. It's the last thing you see. When you click that video, it actually pops out as a modal to take up the whole screen to show your video.
Nice.
Does that make sense? We got your speaker feeds there. They can download your one sheet. That's what that download button is. So if you have a PDF, they can go ahead and download that and they can contact you directly inside of the app. Does that make
Yes,
sense?
exactly. It's meant to be by organizers, basically, but in general, everyone who has an account in speaker in the new speaker hub will not be able to make sure you can actually make between speakers as well, share anything that it will be important to your speaking career. Well, also there is a more organized version. We
Well,
made
let's go back up to the top. Let me walk them through this. So here at the top, you can see your bio. And then we have your speaking topics and then your expertise, right? So your speaking topics are more generic. Your expertise is more specific. It could be your framework, your training methodology, things like that. But the other side of it, we want to let them know what types of opportunities are that you're available for. So you see the conferences, podcast interview, webinar, a 2-hour event. I'm willing to MC. I got all these different things I may be available for. I don't want you to think of me as just a speaker if I'm willing to do these other things. Is that fair, Bonnie? Right? So then we have your signature talk. This is your framework that you've built your whole thing around. Mine would be the speaker flywheel or the promoter flywheel. Right? Now, why is that? Because this is my signature thing. I want them to see me with my best stuff. So that's a video that can be played along with other photos of me talking at different places. And then I show that, okay, that's my main thing, but I also can talk on these other two topics, building high performance teams and digital innovation and business growth. So why? Because what are our 3 topics? Business growth, leadership, and skill building. You see how we put those up? We want you showing your 3 different types of talks: leadership, skill building, and business growth. Got it?
We actually have a way to make them actually put more signature talks, but we recommend, and just as you mentioned, that they just feature these 3 main talks.
Yep. Yeah, on the front page, we're just going to show 3 of each item. So if you got 3 topics, we're going to show 3. If you got 15 courses, we're going to show the 3. We're not going to show all 15 of them on the first page. When they click over, they can go to look at all of your programs, look at all of your courses, look at all of your testimonials. Is this making sense? Right? So if you scroll down, you can see there are the 3 courses. There's the view all for them to go to the page with all of the courses on it. There are your testimonials from all of your people. Those will also be fed in from Speaker QR. There are your books. Right? Chantel has one book on Amazon. The workbook may be here next to the course. But then we all got all these awards that we've won that we never show people. So we made a place for the awards. If you're free, if you have a free account, it will show recommendations to other speakers on the right side and down at the bottom. So you saw that thing at the bottom that says still looking. Maybe they didn't find what they wanted with you. If you have a free account, we're going to show that because we're serving the organizer. But for those of you all with lifetime accounts, that will never show up. Why? Because we don't want you competing. We want you winning.
Yeah, basically
fair?
this is the website, basically.
Yeah, it's
You-
basically a website. We're trying to give you everything so that people stay focused on you as a speaker. Got it? So
That's-
as you go, so this is the gist of it. The other pages are just more detailed pages of the appearance, all your appearances, the podcast that you've been on. They should show up there. You can be able to mark the podcast, put the links in for the podcast, different media, different testimonials. So each page is just more in detail, but the beginning one is the one that we think is most important because that's the first impression. Got it? This is a game changer. I mean, like a super duper duper game changer. Because
It
it's
is.
publicly available information so that you can get booked more, right? We're going to outrank your regular website the majority of the time anyway. So if they're going to see something, you want them to see you in all your glory.
That's awesome.
Make sense? So
Absolutely.
yeah, this is where we are. So the other thing is that over on the left, do you see that thing, that menu on the left, home, dashboard, speaker page, courses? That won't be there. That menu goes away when someone's just searching. Right? But this is the logged in view because a person who's not logged in, they don't have a dashboard. Does that make sense? Thoughts, feedback? What are we missing? This was built based on feedback from you guys that I talked to privately. I showed it to several people. They gave me feedback. I talked to Maria about it. She made her adjustments.
I love it. And as Gustavo said, it's like it's creating our website on steroids for the direction we're really going in. And I love that idea.
Yep. So if you wanted to buy Bonnie Brindle Speaks, we'll show you how to redirect it over to this. Right? So you can
Bonnie-
redirect, you can redirect your pages over to your Speaker Hub page.
Oh, okay.
That way you don't have to give speakerhub.com/speaker/XYZ, blah, blah, blah.
BonnieBrindleSpeak.com.
Something like that. I was just giving it as an example, but yeah. Or if you already
Okay.
own Bonnie Brindle, you could do that. BonnieBrindle.net, Bonnie Brindle Speaks, any of those, whoever you are,
Awesome.
you definitely want to own your name.
Yeah, I mean that's my regular website is BonnieBrindle.com and all the pieces that go with it, but none of them say speaks, obviously.
Yeah, you can get the Speaks, you can get the .me, the
Okay.
.us, the .net. Just have a separate domain that is going to go to the speaker thing, because you still may want to have your main website.
Definitely want to have the main website. What is the best domain? Like, what do you
There's
say?
no
Should it be
best.
a .com, a .me, a .net? Does it
Yeah,
matter?
because you're just using it as a redirect, right?
Okay.
They're going to find it under Speaker Hub before they find anything anyway. But this is just the easy way for you to be able to send it to someone. Hey, check out my Speaker One sheet. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? .me, .press, any of those. Because it's really a press kit. That's what we really wanted to build. Got it? This is the
Got it.
future, guys. This is where we're going, right? So, it also includes the courses. Your courses will be there. The ease of use. There's no wrong way to do it, which means that there's also no right way. It's just either the course is ready or it's not. Right? And guess what? It ain't permanent. Once you upload it, you can always add, you can always update it, change out the videos. Do you see what I mean? You can add another section later. It's never permanent. Remember, I just had to redo 4 books. Speaker Launch Formula for educators, Speaker Launch Formula for PhDs, and Speaker Launch Formula for entrepreneurs. Had to redo all 4 of them because it was too technical. We want to make this as easy as possible for you guys. It's a game changer. Thanks, Gustavo. Any other questions before we close out tonight, guys? Was this helpful?
Very impressive. Love it.
You're in the right place. You know, if somebody's gonna beat us, they're gonna have to have their stuff together because they, you know, I mean, we're dedicated to the cause. Thanks, Maria and Gustavo, on not only the design but the execution. Right? You know, it's like this thing comes in my brain, goes to Maria's Figma, and then Gustavo got to write the code for it, and somehow it all looks the same. I'm like, holy smokes, this is magic. Right? So I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you again. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow, and hopefully I feel a lot better. But I'm good. Talk to you later, guys. Bye bye.
Get well.